Okay, this is a reaction video. This is how I got my U.S. passport in just 24 hours. This is Lawrence from Lost in the Pond, and please click like, share, and subscribe for him as well as for me. But let's find out how he got his U.S. passport in just 24 hours.
Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to passports.
Now, I've gotten my passport twice. So in 2006 when I went to Germany, and now I renewed it in 2016. It took about a couple weeks before I got my passport. But I don't know how he got his passport in 24 hours. Maybe I'll learn something.
As a long-time holder of this British passport, I was no stranger to how they work. Namely, that if you're travelling between countries, you'll need to present one of these to prove your identity and nationality. But how do passports work once you become a dual citizen? Well, this is a question that I was forced to ask myself on the eve of doing that very thing. Oh, by the way, if you're not subscribed to Lost in the Pond, do that now.
Yes, please click like, share, and subscribe for him as well as for me.
At my swearing-in ceremony here in Chicago, all new citizens in attendance had on their laps an envelope containing several documents. First, a program of events. Second, a how-to guide for voting. Third, a personalised letter from the president that I've just realised was probably a standard form letter. And fourth, congratulations on becoming a US citizen.
That's nice. I did not know you got all that stuff. That's interesting.
In that very document atop the list of next steps is a section on applying for a US passport. It reads, now that you're a US citizen, you can apply for a US passport from the US Department of State.
Now, for all of us, we generally go to the post office and get a form, and then you you fill it out, and then you go to a drugstore and you get your passport photos taken, you send it all in, and you get your passport. But now that it's done online, so it's done a little bit differently now.
You will need to submit your original Form N550, Certificate of Naturalization, and a photocopy when applying for your US passport. And do you think I was in any fit state to take care of that there and then? No, because, I was in the throes of buying a house and the World Cup was happening.
Yeah, the World Cup takes priority over everything. So assuming you're not going to the World Cup, wherever it is, if this is 2022, which is how in Qatar, then yeah, the World Cup takes priority. And England, well, until England loses, because I'm assuming you're rooted for England, they went out to France in the quarterfinals, if I'm not mistaken.
Instead, I figured I'd get around to it in a few weeks, move our stuff into the new place, and then we could talk travel books. Anyway, as many of you know, my dad died the day after New Year. It was a very big loss, obviously, and there was no way that I was going to say my final goodbyes over Skype. And yes, we still use Skype. So my wife and I needed to get to England, and soon. As I unloaded my recording equipment one morning, I discovered my UK passport stuffed in the side pocket of my camera bag. As I flipped through it, it was not lost on me that I would soon need to use this. What was lost on me is that last sentence would soon prove to be complete You see, I'd had...
Yeah, I can see where he's coming from with this. I can see how he got his U.S. passport in 24 hours with his father passing away.
This nagging feeling at the back of my head. And I know what you're thinking. Ooh, Lawrence, that's just a throwback to the cricket ball incident of 1994.
No, that's not what we're thinking.
No, I had this nagging feeling that I'd overlooked something, and it's...
Yeah, the U.S. passport.
Turns out I had. To leave and enter the country, all US citizens, including those of dual nationality, must present a US passport. I knew I shouldn't have put it off. Upon discovering this...
Well, it was in World Cup, so it's understandable.
My brain returned to those words from the swearing-in ceremony. Now that you're a US citizen, you can apply for a US passport from the US Department of State.
In other words, now you can, or you should, or you better.
So I put on my coat and promptly headed there next. And by there, I mean the State Department website. And by coat, I mean... that part didn't happen. Since I needed a US passport quickly, I moved with haste to a section on processing times. Basically, there are three main ways that you can order a passport. Option 1, routine. This standard application can take up to 11 weeks. Obviously, this...
Now, I do it routine. It only takes about 3 or 4 weeks, at least 2 or 3, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I forget exactly what it was.
wasn't going to cut it. Option 2, expedited. That sounds way more like it. 5 to 7 weeks. And then option 3, expedited at agency, must have international travel within 14 calendar days.
There you go.
Hello. What's all this then? It's true. The State Department has this one weird trick that the government doesn't want you to know about. I've just realised they are the government, and they very much do. The expedited at agency option can be utilised in one of 2 ways. The first of these is the purposely vague urgent travel service. I still don't know what that one does. The second, a life or death emergency
That's probably what you have, life or death emergency.
appointment. And that one right there sounded like an option created for me specifically, which, having dealt with the federal government many times, is a thing of rare beauty. I read on. According to the State Department's website, you may qualify for a life or death emergency appointment if you need to travel internationally in 3 business days because your immediate family member outside of the United States has died, is dying, or has a life-threatening illness or injury.
Well, his father had already passed away, so I don't think either one of those apply.
It should be noted that the government has strict rules around who can be considered an immediate family member, with parents, grandparents, siblings, spouses and children the only real candidates. So, in a bad situation, I was off to a good start. I was eligible for a life and death emergency appointment. But how does one go about procuring such an appointment? Well, this is where the federal government came hurtling back at me like a ball of red tape. Before even setting up an appointment, I needed to get a copy of my dad's death certificate, buy and print airline tickets, complete a passport application, get passport photos, dance the Charleston, and occasionally press 2 for more options.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Once I'd done all that, then I could set up an appointment, but only if I was travelling within the next 2 weeks, which luckily I was, so they set up the appointment. That appointment, by law, could only take place within 3 business days prior to my departure. Before I had time to worry about that fact, the State Department assured me that the agency could not guarantee that you will have your passport in time for travel.
Yes, that sounds about right as well.
Not a single part of me trusted this process, but with no other options, I pursued it anyway. My brother sent me the death certificate, I completed a passport application, then bought 2 airline tickets on the express understanding that I'd soon be seeking a refund, went to Walgreens to get passport photos, went to the car park, noticed the photos were blurry, went back to Walgreens, and politely requested a reshoot. Walgreens reshot the photos, and I now have a multi-million-dollar modelling contract with the pharmacy.
No, I don't think you do. I don't believe that for a second, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
That last part isn't true. What is true is that this all happened over a period of 2 hours. 2 days. I'm trying to make passport anecdotes more exciting. And then came the appointment. The person on the phone had booked me into an afternoon slot at the Chicago passport office, appropriately located in the same building as my citizenship test. Like clockwork, the appointment took place precisely 3 business days before my flight to England. After responsibly navigating 2 security checkpoints, I reluctantly entered the appointment room. But to my surprise, I was joined by more than 100 others. As I stood patiently in line,
100 other people? I didn't expect that. I really didn't expect that to happen. I really expected it would just be like, just a couple moments and you'd be all set.
And I considered the head count before me. My swearing-in ceremony had broken the Chicago record for most new citizens in one sitting. I'll bet some of them were here in this room. I'm handed a number, the number 316. I mentally tip my hat
to Stone Cold Steve Austin, 316.
To the Attitude Era, and before I know it, I'm next in line. The woman in front of me, now being served, didn't seem to have everything going her way. I know this because she kept asking, "Are you kidding me?" But
are you effing kidding me?
In an American accent. I didn't like where this was going. After about 5 minutes, my number came up. Approaching the counter, I Britishly uttered the words, "Ah!" and "Hello." The passport agent looked at me with an expression so neutral it almost resembled Switzerland. "How can I help you?" she asked, moving only her lips. "I'm here for a life and death appointment." "I'm so sorry for your loss," she said warmly. You know, it's amazing how virtually anyone, no matter their background, will default to kindness when they know you're in mourning.
Yeah, I mean, that is nice. That's a good thing to know.
And I intended to use this to my advantage.
Smart. That's what I would have done, and hopefully that got you your passport.
I handed over my documents, spoke in hushed tones, and did that half-smile thing that people do when they wish to convey reverence, and bingo, she approved me in 5 minutes. The next day I returned to the passport office to pick up my first official US passport. The cost of doing so, once you include the expedited fee, came to a grand total of $225.
And that's a lot of money for by passport, but if you gotta, you gotta.
The most that I'll ever spend on a book. Ultimately, it was worth saying hello to this in order to say a proper goodbye to my dad. And when security officials at O'Hare accepted my new passport, I have to confess, I felt more American than ever before, even though only a third of Americans actually own a passport. For more information on why that is, watch my video, Why Don't More Americans Own Passports?
I can answer that question right now because they don't do a lot of international traveling. You travel basically in the United States, or you don't travel at all. I met a bunch of people who didn't travel at all, and you probably wouldn't dream of leaving the United States for any purpose whatsoever. They're afraid of flying. I had a group of people who were afraid of even leaving Columbus, Ohio, just to go 2 hours up to Cleveland or 2 hours or 90 minutes down to Cincinnati.
Until next time, goodbye.
Okay, this is Lost in the Pond. This is how I got my U.S. passport in 24 hours. Well, that's one way you do it, please click like, share, and subscribe for Lawrence, as well as like, share, and subscribe for me. I would appreciate it. You have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.